Triggers are not just certain points for you to blast upon the other person or blast upon yourself. There's a whole chemistry behind them. The sim, that is, when you invest into the friendship to turn it into a relationship, believing that the more helpful and nice you become, the brighter your chances will be to turn it into a relationship, mostly to fulfill your sexual needs. The fake acquaintance, that is having formality friendships, where you know that whether the person exists or does not hardly even matters for you. They are merely acquaintances and secretly you want to avoid them, but here's the catch. You leave no chance to benefit and further your self interest in any way, shape, or form if the opportunity arises. Yo guys, namaskaram. So, in this video, one of my viewers have reached out to me talking about how one of his, like when he sees one of his ex friends, it triggers him, right? So, he stated that when he sees his ex friend all happy and merry in life, it triggers a lot of feelings in him about how irrelevant he was in their life. In this video, I will try to have more of a psychological and philosophical perspective as to what we can learn from such situations, right? And maybe how to kind of deal with these things in a practical way. So, the nature of life is such that as we grow older, people who once seemed close to us just start disappearing into thin air. Some become our haters, others just consciously move on into different lanes. For some, moving on, it does not bother us, but for some people, it looks like the world just comes crumbling down onto us. Then there are these betrayals from the so called loved ones. Navigating through life is such a difficult affair. We are all children in our hearts looking for love, yet we don't find it anywhere in this world. All religions have the central message of loving humanity, yet we fail in it drastically. To spread my love, that is my central message, I must kill and hate others. I mean, that's how it's always been, right? The greatest bloodsheds that have taken place in our history, as well as some of the current ongoing ones, are all in the name of love. That is my love being better. Anyhow, back to the central message of our feeling of being betrayed. Why does this happen? We have literally invested our life into creating those memories, and it seems that no one gives two hoots about it. Firstly, we must introspect that why is it that we are being impacted so much? Triggers are not just certain points for you to blast upon the other person or blast upon yourself. There's a whole chemistry behind them. To refer to the analogy of a gun, the trigger just fires the bullet, but the deeper questions are like, why is that bullet loaded in that chamber in the first place? How have we procured the bullet? From where does all this ammunition comes from, and who are we aiming towards? We don't ask these questions, but just look at specific situations and say it's triggering me, and just start avoiding these situations altogether. This is the way of a coward. Understanding the real reason behind what led to this situation impacting me so much helps us deal with the real root cause instead of just running away from symptoms. We want to annihilate the root problem itself, not put bandages on our symptoms. Now I have segregated the so called level of friendships into three categories as per my understanding. The first one, my favorite, being the simp. That is, when you invest into the friendship to turn it into a relationship, believing that the more helpful and nice you become, the brighter your chances will be to turn it into a relationship, mostly to fulfill your sexual needs. The hopeful idiot, that is when you feel betrayed because the so called genuine friends in your circle clearly prioritized their own petty needs. Instead of respecting your friendship, you gave your all from the heart, and then all your secrets were let out, breaking your trust in the process. The fake acquaintance, that is having formality friendships, where you know that whether the person exists or does not hardly even matters for you. They are merely acquaintances and secretly you want to avoid them, but here's the catch. You leave no chance to benefit and further your self interest in any way, shape, or form if the opportunity arises. So you keep diplomatic ties with them. Just a disclaimer that we must keep our intellect open on all three levels. There's a lot we can learn just by observing our own patterns as well as the patterns of others. Well, the first category falls into this sweet word called sims. You put the other person on a pedestal and in the process let go of your self esteem, self respect, etc. People want to date those whom they respect, not whom they see as inferior beings or lower than them from an evolutionary perspective. If you look at it from the other person's perspective, you're hardly a convenient papoo. No matter how nice or good you become and try to cloak your real intentions, humans sniff through the bullshit and then exploit you to the fullest. No one respects a person who does not respect themselves. This is how, evolutionary speaking, we have survived. That gut feeling, that instinctual feeling of knowing something is not right and this person is pretending to be a fake. As tribal beings, we couldn't have survived in packs if we did not trusted the other members fully. Hence, unconsciously, you get a feeling of being ignored because they want to wipe you away from their social circle. Don't try to apply the rules of dating into the game of friendships. The rules of both these games differ drastically. You're an outright idiot, and that's why it hurts you the most when you try to mix both the worlds. Conversely, however, if you just focus on cultivating being a genuine friend, who knows what might happen in the future? Because at least you're honest in that bond from your end. We must try to be as authentic and pure in our private relationships so that there is no space for fluff, emotional manipulation, diplomatic games, hurt, etc. Let the females do that among their own friend circle, but not you. Be as genuine and authentic and then let go if you see that these low level animalistic games are being played. We all deserve authenticity in our private relationships and not games of stupid diplomacy. See all the patterns as to why you behave the way you do around these people. What is it that you lack in your life, and then move the locus of control from an external source to an internal one. When we are hopeful idiots, that is the second category, we learn the most. Probably because we related to our friends in a way that was very intimate for us. It might be in an event where there might be a certain overlap of interest, or you might have met pursuing a similar cause. The mistake here is that we fall into this thing called the halo effect, which fundamentally states that just because a person is good in one thing, we assume them to be good in all other things. Conversely, if they show a similar inclination towards the things we are deeply passionate about, we assume that they must also be passionate in a similar intensity as us, and we drop down our guards. We start seeing them as comrades, turning a blind eye to all the tendencies and other inclinations that make them shit. Understand, no one outright becomes hostile, conniving, and cunning. These signs were always there. It's just that you chose to ignore them initially. Humans are oddly consistent in their patterns and actions. It takes a lot of effort to break them and become a changed person. Very few people want to invest their energy into doing that work. For this category, the biggest lesson is love your cause, mission, and work more than people. Don't develop attachments to the people who are in a similar cause. We are masters at disguising our true emotions, feelings, and thoughts to fit in for the group. What we want to say or feel genuinely often gets persuaded or pushed by our own selves when we are a part of a group or we want to become a part of one. See these people as to how their actions align in other areas of their life. You don't want a domestically abusive person preaching to you about the importance of non-violence. If we extrapolate this thinking to our lovely corporate world, the CEOs have a dark shadow which the people working closest to them with are starkly aware of. But in the public eye, they are the most benevolent, happiest, upright, upbeat people talking about the risk taking behavior and all the greatest causes of the world, having innumerable cultural decks and whatnot. If you develop attachment and delegate the control of your life to an unreliable human who, for the most part, cannot even follow his or her own words, and their actions are always misaligned with their words, who is to blame? Your bias just lets you ignore everything. Study these patterns as well. When we are the fake acquaintance, that is the third category. We not only disrespect the other, but fundamentally we are disrespecting ourselves. Not having the spine to clearly communicate that, and I quote, you are just a pushover who I am using for my own petty needs, is how we lose what could have become a great asset in friendship for us. The other trusts us fully, sharing their side with us, but then we don't communicate clearly. We go to 10 different people talking stories about how good it feels to use and exploit their kindness. Fundamentally, if we are not being true to them and still keep on investing our time with them, it's our own life that we are disrespecting. If you are in this pattern, develop a spine or tell them that we are not working out as friends and then distance yourself. It's only good for you in the long run to not become a villain in someone else's life. We don't want to cultivate rivalry with people whom we know were on our side once. And trust me when I say this, that when these rivals come for you, they come hard, leaving no stone unturned. It's better not to ruffle feathers. If you're being exploited by these fake acquaintances, become mean. Stop prioritizing bonds in which there is no equal footing. You know that these people will only remember you when they want something. Let go, fucking ghost them, and invest that energy into building something for your own self. Or invest in people who radiate the same energy towards you. So, in the end, I would like to just conclude with this one thinking exercise for you. That trigger points are basically situations in which we are reminded about our past traumas and we go into a situation where we feel helpless. It's not your fault. Introspect on that trigger point as to what you were seeking in that relationship and then try to figure out a way to bring more control towards your internal self rather than depending on external people and situations. That is how you can fulfill those unfulfilled needs through your own efforts and actions. Anyhow, that's a small video which concludes my insights and thinking about this problem through a certain lens. Let me know what you feel about it. Hope it helps. And until then, this is Devashish Pindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Cheers.